I pig, bet that. You gonna wish you never touched me. You gonna wish. You don't know who I am? Bet that. Bet that. I put that on everything. Put that on my hood. Shut up, inmate. You talk too much. Pat, pat, pat. Coming up next, I'm giving y'all this crazy story about a Latin King leader named Carlos that got stomped unconscious by 4 correctional officers. Stay tuned to the Prison Talk Show. What up, what up, what up? We are back. Who am I? Jersey Street Corner, and this is the Prison Talk Show, people. So let's get into it. Alright, now, this story would unfold in the day room. It's a normal day. Smooth day. No trouble. Only bad thing is the 4 asshole officers are on guard tonight. Everybody's doing their thing, you know, people playing cards, watching TV. And you had a certain group called the LKs, the Latin Kings. They had their own little thing going on. They was big. They stayed to themselves. They had their own little card game going over on one side of the day room. Excuse me, y'all. My bad. Now, the reason I call these officers assholes is because we are already locked down and y'all making it harder than it gotta be. Y'all could turn y'all heads a few times, but nah. When we was locked down with them, y'all, we couldn't fish under the cells at night. If you was locked down with them on their shift, that meant you couldn't use the cell phone if you had it, unless you wanted to go to lockup. That meant you couldn't smoke no green, no bud if you had it, or do anything else if you had it. That meant everything had to be on the up and at 'em. Also, I hope your commissary is stacked up if they on shift, because the chances of an early lockdown were very, very likely. See, these 4 were very lazy individuals, and they'd rather just lock us up like some animals so they could sit in their control booth and watch TV all night, talk on the phone. Yeah, I know the type. And what's somebody gonna do? Report them? Who gonna believe us over them? Nobody. The warden sure as hell wasn't. He ain't give a good goddamn what happened as long as nobody didn't get unalive. So, when I call them assholes, that's exactly why. Nothing towards correctional officers. I wish you all the best. Just stay in your lane. So, when they start moving around the pod, they was moving real funny. They was looking in corners that they don't normally look in. They checking cells. They just walking around, you know, just seeing who's who and who's there at the present time. And just scoping the place out, kind of. It looked kind of weird. And a few people noticed it. Nobody really paid it any attention as long as it wasn't bothering them. But I definitely noticed it, and I thought it was weird. And I'm like, yo, why dude scoping the whole pod out like that? I guess he just looking, maybe he looking for somebody. I don't know. You couldn't have white sheets up if these guys were searching. You couldn't have white sheets up. None of that. Anything that would get somebody sent to the hole, they was looking for a reason. Just give them a reason. Let them catch you up there doing a tattoo in the cell. Let him run down while you dyeing your clothes. Yeah. Let him run down while you altering state property, coloring your boots. Oh, y'all don't know what I'm talking about. You could get locked up easy with these guys on shift. And when I say easy, I mean catch you an easy 9-month bid in the big room. Lock up. Dead time. So everybody just kept to themselves, kept it quiet, Some people stayed in their cell the whole night. They said, shit, I'm locking in right now. I ain't trying these dudes. I ain't trying. But nah. Some people still gambled out there in the day room playing cards. Now, it wasn't no static the whole day. Did nobody get unalived or juked up? Nobody even got beat up that day yet. It's still early. Now, this is around, say, 3:15-ish. I guess you could say the lockdown for count before lunch call. So, as they call and count, we see one of the officers approaching a dude named Carlos. And they're walking him out of the day room. They're walking him through a corridor. Now, we don't have any idea where they're taking him because they just call lockdown and count. But Carlos didn't ask any questions. That was his name, Carlos. He didn't ask any questions because he didn't want any problems with the guards. Now, they made up a stupid excuse. They said it was an inventory issue. Didn't even make sense. He ain't have nothing to do with no inventory. So Carlos finally spoke up like, where you taking me? And that's when they got to a door at the end of the hallway, a storage closet, where 3 more officers waited. So, as Officer Calhoun pushed Carlos in, now one officer stepped forward. You know what this is all about, King Carlos. And Carlos said, nah, don't tell me. And before he could get another word out, an officer cracked Carlos in the side with his baton. Then they all started to engage, y'all. Now at this point, Carlos, he's still awake, just a little dizzy. Officer Calhoun told the officers, finish it. Break his ribs. I want him to remember who runs this prison every time he breathes. And they did just that. One blow to the rib cage. Crack! One last blow to Carlos's head, and they left him there. In a pool of you know what. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button for me one time. Y'all know the vibes. Now, what none of these officers knew, and what Carlos was trying to tell them before they beat him down unmercifully, was that he had a strict routine himself. And his organization didn't grow to the numbers they are and the strength that they have overnight and by being dummies. No. They had strict protocol. So every single day at 4:15 p.m., Carlos made a very important phone call. If he didn't make that phone call, let's just say certain protocols get set in motion and it's impossible to stop it. Now, I told y'all Carlos was a big dog on the street and in prison. And just like we had Officer Brown on our side on the payroll, he had Officer Hernandez on his side. He heard Carlos was taken to the infirmary and immediately started his own investigation. He found out the names, addresses, kind of cars they drove, all their normal routines, which ones had gambling or drinking problems, who was, cheating on their wife, where the mistress lives. He got all that info and made the call that will start the domino effect of justice. Officer Hernandez had a small cell phone that he always had on him, but it wasn't his. It belonged to Carlos. If the officer always had it, Carlos could never get caught with it. And they would do 12-hour shifts. So unless he wanted to chance it, he only got 12 hours to use the phone, which is great in prison. There was only one name, a letter Q, and one number. The phone was strictly for orders, so the officer dialed the number. When Q answered, Hernandez gave him all the info he had found. Now, Q immediately called his 4 top hitters, set a meeting up ASAP. He told them, this the issue. This what happened to Carlos. Now, this ain't no revenge. None of that. This ain't business. This is a message. We gonna let them know it don't matter if you put the head of the organization in prison. The organization will not fold. So they gonna send a serious message. Now, I need y'all to hit all 4 of these officers at the same time. But it can't be connected, and it has to look like 4 separate incidents randomly. I got 4 files, one for each one of y'all. In those files contain routines, addresses, where they'll be at certain times, all that. And the method of which I'd like for you to take them out. And when I say take them out, understand me. Understand me, y'all. I don't mean hurt. I don't mean crippled. I mean gone for good, up out of here. Because if any of them live to tell the story, then that means we all gonna be sitting behind some bars. And they all looked at each other. And they said, what if one gets away or, goes offline or whatever? Improvise. Do what you have to do. Just make it look good. You're like, all right. Can you do this? Yeah, we got it. What about, they cars and stuff? People might notice they cars. Don't y'all worry about that. I got my man Vito. He handles the cars. He gonna handle the cleanup. Y'all do what y'all do and just get the vehicles to him. He gonna handle the rest. They're like, say no more. And they all reading up on their files. One dude got a drinking problem. He gonna get got at the bar. Another dude, he like to gamble. They gonna catch him playing numbers. One dude, he got a mistress. They gonna catch him creeping over there to the mistress house. Another dude, well, he's like I guess you could say a pervert. He goes and he finds girls in the street looking to make some money. And one of those guys. Anyway, so they would get lined up for their missions, start stalking their officer, and they got the radios to communicate, and they following the patterns. They're like, all right, what time y'all want to do it? And they synchronizing their watches. They're like, all right, let's do it between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. Everything has to be done. And they executed, y'all. Got him. One dude got popped with a shotgun to the head. Another one got choked out. Didn't even see it coming. Behind the bar alley. Cars got lit on fire. All types of treacherous things happened that night. And none of them were linked to each other. They all had separate stories. So there was no FBI or, investigation. It all looked like they walked away from their lives, not like somebody disappeared them. So that let everyone know, because people knew something happened to those officers. They couldn't prove it. They don't have any idea what happened to those officers, because when Carlos finally woke up, which was about 18 hours later, he didn't know what happened. He said, what happened? And now his big homie is there to see him. He's like, hey, you was passed out for the last 18 hours. And while you was passed out, let's just say the officers that did this to you, well, they don't exist anymore. And he was like, and he tried to breathe, and he was like, I think you got a broken rib. It's hard to breathe. He's like, yeah. And he just looked and he left. 18 hours. And he was happy that they did it while he was passed out and knocked out unconscious. They made that call and made that happen. And, he heard about the success of the hits, that there was no heat, no federal investigation, and life would go on. So they learned that day, you don't mess with no LKs. You do not mess with no Latin kings. That's a warning. That was something light, a warning shot Carlos threw at him. They ain't know he was big King Carlos from the block. He ain't played no games in or out of prison. Anybody can get that work. You move the wrong way, he could touch you. They learned the hard way, because a lot of families woke up missing a member that morning, 4 to be exact. And there was no explanation. None. Just looked like they ran from their pathetic lives. Now, Carlos come on back down to the block. He a little banged up, but he got all the respect. He walking, he alive. He took them lumps. And he said, nah, them pigs ain't know. Them pigs ain't know what I had coming for them. I bet they won't try that again. Well, I know they won't try that again. And the whole pod just started laughing. Everybody cracking up. And the other officers that's on the guard, they just looking down, shaking their heads. Like, yeah, we know what happened. I bet we ain't gonna be stupid. I bet we ain't gonna try nothing like that. And they just turned their heads and walked the other direction, y'all. Not only did what happened to those 4 officers send a message to every other officer in that prison, but you think that kept quiet? Officers in prisons all over heard about that. Yeah, y'all. It sent a quiet message all across the board, different prisons, to all the officers. Let it be known. You mess with an LK and your family gonna get touched. It also let all the other inmates in the prisons also know. Yeah, homie. Just because we in here don't mean your family can't get touched. So act right or get left. You know the vibes. Hey, listen, y'all. This is the Prison Talk Show. I am JS Corner. I need you to do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Share the video. Hype the video. All that good stuff. Do your boy a solid. And if you like stories like that, come on down. I got plenty for you. I'm out.